think back, do you remember the good old days when you used to walk to the store or drive to the mall to buy what you wanted or needed? These days, shopping is a very different experience. As customers, we have to process through a lot of data and sort through a lot of choices. Do you buy in the store or do you buy through an app on your mobile? Do you buy now or do you buy later? Do you perhaps rent a product which you once used to purchase? Could you ever imagine that instead of buying CDs or records to listen to your favorite band, you would be subscribing to music services? The way we shop today and the way companies distribute and price the products has been profoundly changed. These changes are on one hand overwhelming for us. But on the other hand, companies are producing choices where choices didn't exist before, and they are creating value where we didn't have value in the past. I'm an economist. I have been studying pricing for over 20 years. I have been super lucky to study pricing at a time of change. What was once only theoretical is today practically possible. Companies are innovating in a lot of ways in terms of introducing new and innovative pricing and distribution models. I've been working with companies that are innovating and creating choices that didn't exist for us in the past. Here are the questions that I am going to discuss today. Why do we see changes in the markets that we are seeing? Why are there so many changes? What are the implications of these changes for companies and customers? And lastly, how can companies succeed to adjust to this new environment? So let me start looking at why do we see so many changes in the markets today. Companies have certainly always used different prices for different customers in different geographies. We use big words for these pricing strategies: yield management, dynamic pricing, bundling. These techniques have been around for a long time. But in the past, prices didn't change so often. They were often predetermined, and they were certainly not based on real-time data. Have you ever shopped on Amazon and you decided not to buy something right then, so when you went back on the Amazon site, you noticed that the price was different? According to Eco Consultancy, a research and consulting company, Amazon changes its prices 2.5 million times a day. This means that the average price on Amazon's platform changes about every 10 minutes. According to several recent reports, more than half of American companies are changing their prices. They are also changing the way they are delivering goods and services. They are innovating in their distribution models to reach customers anywhere and anytime. They are able to do this because of the internet, because of changes in technology, and because of availability of lots of data. Wireless technology and software make it possible for companies to track mine, and yours shopping behavior and purchasing behavior. So given that the new technology, changes in software, and availability of the data, what are the resulting implications and opportunities for companies and customers in this new space? Number one, companies can now customize prices. They can use real-time, accurate supply and demand data. They know what we're doing, when we're doing it, and they can use technology and software to customize prices. Take Leclerc, for example. Leclerc, as you all know, is a big grocery store chain in Europe. They have installed thousands of electronic price tags in their supermarkets. That was in 2012. Electronic price tags in supermarkets enable the clerk to automate and change thousands of prices. All they have to do is push a button and prices change. App-based car companies like Uber and Lyft use customized pricing based on user data. They know customers' demand, and they use what's called surge pricing to increase the prices at peak periods. The consequences of these changes for drivers are that they can adjust when they want to work. If you want to be really busy, you go on the road and provide services when there are lots of customers looking for rides. At the same time, customers who are able to adjust the time of their travel and travel at low peak times are going to be able to benefit by paying lower prices. Second, companies are now able to target specific users with specific offers. In doing this, they are able to incorporate very precise, sometimes private information about our behavior, shopping habits, spending, search history, location, and even computer platform. For those of you who are using Apple Mac, do you know that if you shop through your Apple Mac, you're going to see internet pages with prices listed that are significantly higher than if you use Windows PC? Do you know that if you go back to booking.com to look for the same hotel room that you looked at before when you didn't buy, price listed is going to be different based on your search history and location? Number 3, using data, analytics, and also thinking creatively, companies are now able to identify new customer segments. They can track our needs. They understand what customers want. Companies know that preferences change. So maybe in the past we used to want to own the product, but now the preference has shifted and we want to get access to the product or buy services instead. Take Zipcar, for example. Zipcar is a membership-based car-sharing service. If you want to become a member, you join Zipcar, and you can get a car for a few hours. You go shopping, and then you return the car. The typical Zipcar customer most probably doesn't need the car every day. Also, most probably doesn't want to own the car and pay for insurance and maintenance. Last pricing innovation that I would like to talk about is subscription services for markets in which customers used to buy products. Instead of going to the grocery store to buy food for dinner, busy working professionals might subscribe to a meal service delivery. So, meal service delivery company is going to deliver dinner right to your home. An example that's interesting to look at, and it comes from my experience with working with companies, is a subscription plan in car industries. So, car industry has recently been going through a lot of changes, disruptive changes. I'm sure you're familiar with some of these changes. Electric cars, self-driving cars, interconnected cars. Don't buy a car, use a car share, or buy a car, but don't use a dealer and buy through a digital platform. How are car companies adjusting to these changes? Car companies have been late in innovation in pricing and distribution models. However, recently, car companies like Mercedes, BMW, Porsche, Volvo, Cadillac all introduced subscription plans. They have extended their business model. In addition to selling cars, they are now also selling car services. They have identified a new customer segment. For example, Cadillac's typical average customer is 62 years old, but Cadillac's subscription plan customer average age is 41 years. That is a 21-year age difference and a completely different demographic. Typical car subscription customer most probably doesn't want the hassle or cost of owning the car. With a subscription plan, they pay for insurance, maintenance, concierge services, and in many cases, also for the ability to switch car models on demand as they wish, as their needs change. A typical car subscription customer wants to be part of a dynamic shared economy. They want to get a small car to drive to work in urban areas during the week, and they want a fun convertible to drive the country roads on the weekend. Car companies have now figured out how to deliver value to these customers by saving their time, by simplifying their life, and also by providing experiences that we normally do not associate with ownership of the car. So given these changes, what should we pay attention to? Just because companies, any company, can change thousands of prices in hundreds of stores and channels with a push of a button across the globe, just because they can introduce innovation models in pricing and distribution, just because they can introduce subscription models, that does not make them successful or profitable. They must be careful. Prices must be perceived as fair. This is important for the reputation of the company. Just because Uber could charge higher prices during the snowstorm does not mean that they should necessarily do so. Second, companies also must figure out delivery and business models that are going to be cost-effective and efficient. Can you imagine what it costs to deliver a number of different car models across many different locations on demand? This is operationally complex and costly. What about consequences for customers? Customers now have more power at their fingertips. We have information, we have data, we have software and technology. It's fairly easy to compare prices across different providers, and you have a choice when to buy, what to buy, at what prices to buy. Customers don't owe companies any loyalty. Loyalty must be continuously earned. If a company doesn't deliver the value, you switch to another provider. So I started my talk today by looking at why do we see so many changes and innovations in pricing and distribution models, and what are the consequences and opportunities for companies and customers in this new space. I would now like to propose how companies can adjust to succeed in this new reality. Companies must be laser-focused on getting the outside-in perspective into the company, and that means focus on customer value. Traditional car manufacturing companies must identify a plan for services that are going to be valued by tomorrow's customers. Companies that are experimenting with subscriptions are going to be better positioned for tomorrow's market when the new customers of tomorrow want a self-driving, electric, internet-connected office on wheels rather than just buying a car. Today, while we drive, we stream GPS location, music, and other services from our mobile devices. But tomorrow's customer might be consuming teleconferencing, entertainment, games, and other services. These customers most probably are not going to be interested in owning the cars. They might be more interested in sharing the cars. Companies that are late to experimenting in these markets may fall behind in identifying what are the valuable services to customers in the future in how to charge money for these services when customers are not spending money on buying the cars. Customer preferences are changing, technologies are changing as well, and new technologies are appearing. Forms of ownership are shifting. Companies cannot afford to sit on the sideline during this time of change. They must be proactive. They must embrace change. Companies that are experimenting today with new ownership models and new technologies have the ability to get closer to the customers, to understand what customers need, to anticipate when a solution is going to create new value or solve the problem. These innovations in pricing and distribution models have the capability of creating new markets, identifying new demographics, and new market segments. Companies that are experimenting today are going to be designing and developing better products and services tomorrow. This is a great space for entrepreneurs. So companies that are focused on delivering value today, that are creating better shopping experiences, and creating services which we couldn't imagine that we would need in the past, those companies are better positioned to keep their customers and win new ones. The key is to create value where there was no value in the past. Thank you.